up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Trust Your Board podcast. My name is Stephen Wright. I'm joined by Mr. William Monroe. Will, how you doing, man?
Yo, doing good, Steve. How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty busy.
Yeah. Week.
Yeah. I got my closing on Monday, so things are coming fast and furious on my end.
Mm-hmm. Everything. Is it more just clerical stuff to do, or there's not any worry about anything, right?
No, not a lot of worry. It's just a lot of work. So like, I haven't taken any time off of work. So I got regular work.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we have the podcast we're doing 5 episodes a week.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a lawyer to go see, sign off on the paperwork. We got to go see the house and bring something to it. And then we got all the packing that we have to do. We've done a fair bit, but still got a majority of the packing to do. And then there's some stuff we want to go out and buy ahead of time, like the stupid stuff that you tend to forget when you've never owned a house before, like a rake and shovel and like bath mats and stupid stuff like that. So yeah, it's just a lot of that. Not enough time, but whatever. We'll get through. Plus, we got drafts. We got our draft coming up on Sunday.
Yeah. You have any other redrafts coming up?
Well, me and you are again doing the Megalo Bowl. I think that's Tuesday.
It's coming Tuesday, I believe, right?
Or the Tuesday after?
No,
I don't remember.
The Tuesday. It's the right before the
right before the league.
Starts.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's a couple weeks away, and then I think I'm going to do another one too.
And any work colleagues up there that you can start a league with?
No. I don't talk to my work colleagues.
Fair enough.
But no, I mean, to be fair, a lot of my work colleagues, I don't think they're sports people in general. So it's not like, oh, they're Canadian, they don't like hockey or football. They're more hockey people. It's like, no, they're just not anything kind of people.
There's not big sports guys. Well, not much you can work with there.
No, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So I did think of a quick question for you before we get started here.
We got.
We've been doing a lot of mock drafts. So you're thinking of your typical 12-team league. Do you have a favorite spot to draft out of yet?
I've been trying to figure that out. I think if I'm not like top 2, 3, and have a real chance at like a Barkley CMC, I think I want to be toward the end. Now this is before, a chaos amount of news on our, kind of tier 2, 3 running backs that are being drafted around there.
Drake and Sanders specifically.
Yeah. And then, it's just a lot of uncertainty for some of those guys. But I think the way I lined it up, I want to get kind of 2 of the top. It's probably about 12-ish running backs and then like 6 receivers. So, if you can be in that 7-ish, 8 range, you're still got a good shot at one of the good running backs falling to you. And then you're going to have, either one of the end of that running back tier or maybe your pick of a couple wide receivers. So that 7, 8, 9 range is not bad. And even the turn is good because you're getting a couple good players. So I think, the worst spot for me is maybe that 4, 5 because I'm going to basically have to pick, which of the running backs. You're probably getting Cook, CEH, maybe Henry, if you're in a standard. But then you're probably missing out on that kind of cliff, I think, that I see it somewhere around, I think, maybe 18-ish, 18, 19, 20 overall player. How about you?
I really don't know. And it's the first year in a long time that I haven't had a definite spot. I was with you. I wanted to be in the back end so I can grab some combination of Drake, Sanders, Jacobs, Mixon, Chubb, something like that. But with Drake and Sanders having their weird little injury thing going on, it's kind of worrisome. But then it's like, well, I can move up to like the 6th spot. Maybe I could grab CEH, or I could just grab Jacobs early or Mixon. I'll be fine grabbing anyone there. But then it's like, well, who gets to you in the 2nd round? Because if it's running back heavy, then you're looking at like an Aaron Jones or something, and I'm not comfortable with him there, but I want a running back. So I don't have an answer yet. And I guess that's a good, like, I kind of feel like I could draft out of any spot.
Yeah.
It's just, there's nothing particular that I love. I mean, like, in a perfect world, I'll probably take like 7 or 8 like you. If I can get, in a perfect world, Jacobs and Mixon, Jacobs and Chubb, something like that.
Mhm.
I'm comfortable with that. Like, that's my best spot, but you need some help getting there. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll figure it out next couple of days.
This is the time when you rapid fire some mocks, right?
That's what I've been doing too. Yeah, a lot of them. So let's go ahead and jump into this one. I think we're doing a mock for your draft. You want to explain the format, where we're drafting out of, what our roster spots are and everything?
Yeah. So a little bit of a dress rehearsal for my home league going into year 15, I believe. So we've been around a while. Dropped to 10 teams because a couple people left last year, and we're thinking about trying to get back up to 12, but with everything going on with COVID, we didn't want to kind of rush and just force people in. Haven't seen a ton of people. So sticking with 10 this year. So it's a 10-team standard league. Haven't been able to convince anyone to do half point like we're with our work league here, moving to a half point PPR league. And we've got the format with roster quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, tight end, 2 full flexes. So you could start running back, receiver, or tight end at either of them. So you could technically start 4 running backs, and then 7 bench spots. We decided to add a wide receiver and a bench spot once we moved from 12 to 10. Kind of really keep the waiver wire the same. You're just kind of lengthening out the rosters a little bit. So that's what we're looking. I am in the 9 spot. We do our draft order a little bit ahead of time. And drafting out of the 3rd spot where my dad's going to be drafted to maybe give him a little bit of an idea of where he's going to be looking at.
Yeah, awesome. I will play the role of your dad, and we'll figure it out. You ready to get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. So off the board, the 101 and the 102, we got CMC and Elliott. Now, we were talking before the show, and you said your dad was debating a little bit between Zeke and CEH, possibly at the 3 spot. Is that correct?
Yes, I think, and that's mostly because Team 1 and Team 2 have already expressed that CMC and Barkley, respectively, will be the picks. Now, who knows if there's a change up and someone makes a jump. But I know Team 2 is actually in our Dynasty League. Tony, he already has Zeke in our Dynasty League, so maybe he doesn't want to double down. I don't know. But maybe there's a misdirection. CEH goes up high. Who knows? But right now, understood that McCaffrey and Barkley will likely be the top 2 picks.
Okay, so then I will go and help your dad here. Because, again, like, even without them expressing interest in CMC and Barkley, they're typically 1 and 2, right? Like,
likely the picks.
Odds show that they're 1 and 2. So I'm going to go ahead and just bypass Barkley here.
Okay.
I'll let him fall to 4, and I will grab CEH. And we can we'll experiment with that one since Zeke's not on the board.
Yeah.
Where is CEH? Wow, down in tier 3 because of standard.
Yeah,
so
standard's going to hurt a bit.
Yeah. I had to dig a little bit, but we'll start off the team there since that's kind of realistic as far as what your dad might be looking at here. Obviously, we got Barkley going off the board at 104, Derrick Henry at 105, then Michael Thomas, Josh Jacobs, and Alvin Kamara. Almost got to you, but went off at 108. You're on the clock.
Yeah, it's interesting. Jacobs, I think, was in the mix in recent weeks in my 9 spot, even in the, that's the 2nd round, but he's jumped up, I think, because of just the relative non-news that's come out, aside from, maybe the Theo Riddick signing, which I don't think scares me a ton. But seeing him jump in there actually allows Dalvin Cook to fall a little bit. I'm imagining that Clyde, we'll see if he goes earlier or not, but, I'm currently imagining that it's going to be Zeke, McCaffrey, Barkley, Henry, Thomas, Kamara, Cook, and Chubb off the board. So typically I imagine myself staring down Jacobs, Allaire, and then a couple of the other running backs, Mixon and Sanders, that are still on the board. So if Cook or Chubb are there, I don't think I can pass either of them up. I have myself Cook, probably I would say probably 5 running back right here. I'd probably take him ahead of Kamara in this standard format. And I think you can, debate him with Henry. Henry's probably the 4, but I think he's 5 here. So be thrilled if he falls to me here, and then look to see which of the running backs are still there. Devontae Adams would be pretty tough to turn down at the 202 as well. But Cook is an easy choice here to start. And after Joe Mixon and Tyreek Hill. Interesting enough, we have Nick Chubb available. As I mentioned, Devontae Adams still there as well. All of your tight ends, all of your quarterbacks, Sanders, Aaron Jones, Kenyon Drake, Austin Eckler, and then at wide receiver, Devontae Adams, Julio Jones, Godwin, Hill. So still got quite a few receivers. I think in here I'm going to pass on that position, and it's Chubb, maybe a Sanders or Drake, but I don't think I can pass on pairing Chubb and Cook, which I actually had in our work league last year. I traded Chubb mid-season, but Cook and Chubb were 2 of my 3 running backs that I kind of built around. So interesting that both of them, I think, are usually consensus, top first round picks, maybe top 10-ish here in the standard. So thrilled to pair Cook and Chubb to start the team off here. So we'll lock in Chubb. And after him goes Miles Sanders, Devontae Adams, Julio Jones, Travis Kelce, and DeAndre Hopkins.
Very interesting. A lot of wide receivers going off the board, which I guess makes sense. We got a 3 wide receiver league here. So at the running back position, we got Aaron Jones, we got Kenyon Drake, Austin Eckler, Chris Carson, Todd Gurley. At the running back position, we got Godwin, Golladay, Mike Evans, AJ Brown. Will, is your dad typically a running back heavy kind of a guy? Is he a bounce kind of guy? Does he do 0 RB? Like, what's his typical kind of strategy look like?
Yeah, I don't think he's going 0 RB often. I would say some combination of balanced, maybe leaning a little bit more running back heavy. Just knowing standard scoring and just kind of the scarcity of the position. So I'd say some combination of RB heavy or balanced here would make sense.
Okay, that's fair enough. So then, I do want to grab another running back, but I also feel like I don't have that long of a wait. But I don't know. Some of the options are still questionable, which I guess is kind of typical from this point in the draft. Drake is just screaming out at me, but oh man, the walking boot has me really nervous. I don't like doing that, and I don't know. Oh man. It's hard to pass up. It's really hard to pass him up here. Like, I don't want to draft Aaron Jones over Kenyon Drake. The upside just with Drake. And I could go with a wide receiver here. We got Godwin's here, Kenny Golladay and Mike Evans. I mean, we got some solid wide receivers here. But then if Jones and Drake and Eckler go off the board, my second running back is going to be this Carson, Gurley, Fournette, James Conner tier, which isn't bad, but definitely a little bit risky. I will go ahead and lock in Drake. I'll play the game. Of the 2 between him and Sanders, I am a little bit more confident in him just because Sanders has been given this week-to-week label. And I think Drake's, they are preaching precaution a little bit more. But, we'll see. So we're going to go ahead and lock him in. I need that the second running back here. We got Aaron Jones going off the board. Pat Mahomes going off at 210. Austin Eckler and Chris Godwin go off the board. So I am back on the clock. I will go ahead and grab a wide receiver here, and I am quite comfortable with a Kenny Golladay. So we got Golladay, Evans, AJ Brown, Amari Cooper, Allen Robinson, OBJ on the board. My pick, I think, is going to be Kenny Golladay. I know when we're in these earlier rounds, there's definitely people that people tend to really like. So is there anyone here that you're looking at, Will, that you think would be screaming out to your dad? Like, do you know he's a big Mike Evans fan? Or, like, does he hate Amari Cooper because he's an Eagles fan? And, like, does anything ring out to you here?
Out of them, I don't think so. Maybe Evans. I don't know if he would go Evans or Golladay. I'd say he'd probably go with one of them over a Brown or Cooper or Robinson. Maybe takes the upside shot on OBJ, but I would think, maybe going a little more chalk here in the early rounds to just stay safe with like an Evans or, the upside of what Golladay could become here this year, breakout.
Okay, fair enough. So more in line with what I was thinking. So then I'll go ahead and I'll just execute on my move. I'll grab Kenny Golladay. I am comfortable with him as my wide receiver one this year. I'm a bit biased because I'm a massive Stafford fan, as you all know. So I'm going to believe in his weapons. That messes up my later game plan a little bit because I'm not going to be able to draft Marvin Jones. Well, I could, but I'm not. But, I really like him. I do have him just a notch above Mike Evans for not any good reason. I mean, Mike Evans, just worried about Tom Brady in the deep ball a little bit. So I'll go ahead and lock in Kenny Golladay here. Give myself that running back heavier approach, but also trying to strike a balance at the same time. Got George Kittle go off the board, Todd Gurley, A.J. Brown. There goes Lamar Jackson. And Mike Evans almost made it to you, but goes off right before at the 3:08. You're on the clock.
Yeah, Kittle and Evans would have been nice. I don't imagine they get there, to pick 29. It's a little bit of a fall, but who knows? So we're looking at quarterbacks. Just those top two are off the board. Same with tight end. Not looking quarterback. Andrews and Ertz are interesting, but just given that there's only 10 teams, it's nice to have that positional advantage, but don't think it can take one this early with the running backs and wide receivers still on the board here. Receivers, we've got Amari Cooper, Odell Beckham that are nice upside shots. You got Allen Robinson, Adam Thielen, DJ Moore as solid, just solid targets and just kind of safer options. So I'm actually going to look to the running back position once more. Just, we can start up to 4. So we're going to look at Chris Carson and Leonard Fournette are the top 2 guys here that I'm looking at. And it comes down to, I think I do like Chris Carson a little bit more, but I've got a couple Chris Carson options. I've had him on a few teams already. Don't have any Leonard Fournette, though. So it'd be interesting to diversify and maybe get, done Leonard Fournette there. There, isn't a ton of competition for either of them. They both seem to run the ball a good bit. You got a better offense around Chris Carson. Leonard Fournette, probably the better overall talent. So I probably, debate between the two of those. And who knows if they're both there, maybe, go RB heavy and try it out. But I'm going to go here with Chris Carson first and see what gets back to me here out of the wide receivers that go back-to-back upside. So Team 10 goes Odell Beckham Jr. and Amari Cooper. And looking at the team, man, Joe Mixon, Tyreek Hill, Odell Beckham, and Amari Cooper. That's a Steve wide receiver core if I've ever seen one. Gambler.
Yeah, that is a gambler stance. I mean, a little bit easier in a 10 team where some of the depth running backs are going to fall, but yeah, that looks like me. Team 6, also 3 straight wide receivers. So, we got some Steves out here to fill my role while I be your dad.
Yeah. So Fournette's still on the board. Tough to pass up him as well. I mean, having Chubb, Cook, Carson, and Fournette is really solid 4 tandem. But we still have some top wide receivers that I don't know I can pass up. Allen Robinson still on the board. Adam Thielen, DJ Moore. Obviously, we've got Juju there. Mark Andrews even is an interesting option. So I think the luxury of getting that 4th running back is just probably too much, given that you mentioned there's 3 wide receivers you have to start, and you still have those top tight ends there. So I think we're going to look to the wide receiver position. And for me, it's, I think, kind of the consensus highest ranked guy here in Allen Robinson, and the guy that you and I both really like in DJ Moore. As much as I take him in all the fantasy leagues, I don't think I have DJ Moore on any of my teams yet. So if this is, a situation where he's still available there in the 4th round here, 31-ish, I think I have to strike on him. Robinson's probably the only other one that I would take ahead. But I think I got to go with my gut and the guy that I just like as a overall situation and what I imagine he's going to get better as the wide receiver 1 there. Build around that as the wide receiver course. We're going to go DJ Moore. After DJ Moore, we have Leonard Fournette, Juju Smith-Schuster, Sean Watson, Mark Ingram, and Allen Robinson.
This is a shame because I actually wanted to draft Juju because I don't ever draft Juju. And considering this isn't my team, I felt it was going to be appropriate. But alas, it is not to be. So we'll read off some of the positions here. Got all our quarterbacks outside of Mahomes, Watson, and Lamar. Got all our tight ends outside of Kelsey and Kittle. At the running back position, we got James Conner, we got Melvin Gordon, David Johnson, Jonathan Taylor, Lev Bell, David Montgomery. At wide receiver, Adam Thielen, Calvin Ridley, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Lockett. I don't know that I can pass up Adam Thielen here. He has immense upside this year, given that Diggs is gone. Justin Jefferson is regardless, he's going to be adjusting to the NFL, learning a new team, could be adjusting to a new position, moving to the outside instead of living in the slot. Mm-hmm. So the picture is painted for Thielen to have a really big year. So I think he's a solid pick here. I would have kind of liked to grab another running back, but it's fine. We'll wait. And I might even wait past the 5th round. We'll see what gets to me here. But I'm going to go ahead and lock in Thielen. He feels safe like a Robert Woods, like a Tyler Lockett, but I think he's got higher upside than both of them. It says a lot because I'm really high on both of them. But Thielen looks to be a one-man show. And as long as like a Rudolph or Irv Smith doesn't steal all the touchdowns away from him, I think he'll be really good this year. So we're going to lock him in as a second wide receiver. Strike a balance of 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers thus far. Mark Andrews goes off the board. Cooper Kupp that rounds out to 4th. Courtland Sutton and Calvin Ridley here going off to start the 5th. I am going to strike at the tight end position. I am dealing with Eagles fans, so I'm going to play like an Eagles fan. I'm going to draft Zach Ertz. I've drafted him here and there in my leagues, but I don't like going tight end early. You've been actually doing that quite a bit this year with grabbing Kelsey and Kittle early and then Ertz a little bit when he falls. So I'm sure he would be a target for you if he made it back to the 509, but I'm not going to let it happen. This is where I'm going to let my alter ego, Will's dad, take over here, I guess, a little bit. And we'll draft Zach Ertz, get the tight end position out of the way. That is always the consolation prize of drafting a tight end early. You just literally don't have to look at it the rest of the way. And I'm kind of looking forward to that for once. So we'll go ahead. We'll pick him up here. A solid play. And, even though I'm drafting him here, I'm still perfectly comfortable grabbing a Jalen Reagor or a D-Jax later. It's a kind of offense that I'm fine doubling up if need be. So we made the pick. Jonathan Taylor goes off the board red for me. Terry McLaurin, Raheem Mostert, James Conner, and Robert Woods. Man, you would have liked him to fall to you.
Yeah, that would have been nice. But there's still some really good options on the board here. We've still got all the quarterbacks outside of the top 2. And who's that? Watson went? Yeah, so still just 3 quarterbacks off the board. There's 4 tight ends. So we're going to be waiting up those positions. Now, the reason I think that I really would like to go 3 running backs out of the first 4 is, you still got Melvin, David Johnson, Lev Bell, David Montgomery, decent running back options off the board. So not bad to get one as your 3rd. But the wide receivers here still are really solid options. You've got Lockett, Metcalf, DJ Chark, Parker, Keenan Allen. And given that I've got DJ Moore, I really want to see if I can get an upside shot here. So I think we're going to go with DJ Chark first, given that I'm pretty sure this team behind me is going to take at least 1 running back, and that will leave one of the 2 Seattle receivers available. I think the team, I could go either way, especially taking, an upside guy in Chark with a safer guy in Moore, doubling down on the DJs. I think I did that earlier this week, actually. But having that with this team already, have Seattle's running back in Carson, so we'll see what happens when they get back. But I wouldn't mind taking one of their wide receivers at this point as, a 3rd wide receiver. So we'll go with Chark first and see what happens after me here. So lock in Chark. After him, this team goes 2 running backs in Lev Bell and Melvin Gordon. So needs to lock down that running back position, which isn't bad to pair them with Joe Mixon in that receiving core. Pretty interesting team developing for Team 10 there. But it does put me in a position to make a choice here out of these 2. And I think going into the year, I was much higher on DK. I still think he has a ton of value and upside, breakup potential. And it isn't a PPR league, as we mentioned, so touchdowns are going to be big for him. But Lockett, I feel like, is an underrated deep ball receiver. He I feel like you always think of him as just kind of the possession guy, but he does get deep as well. And I've been rising on him lately, and I think he would be a good fit with this team. Parker, Keenan Allen, got some upside shots, and T.Y. A.J. Green if you think they can bounce back. But at this time, I think it's really only going to come down to one of the two Seattle wide receivers for me here. Looking at the running back position, not really thrilled there. Maybe I can get one of the rookies next round if they're still there, or, a younger, second-year guy, Ronald Jones, somebody like that. So we'll see what comes back. But I think we're going to strike at wide receiver here, and I'm going to lock in Tyler Lockett here. And it pains me to not keep the alliteration going with DJ Moore, DJ Chark, and DK Metcalf. That would be a solid receiving core. But I think I have to break up the band here and just go with a guy I think I'm more confident in Tyler Lockett. I think he's safest on the team. Moore has good floor and good ceiling, and then DJ Chark has a huge ceiling, and we saw it last year. So I'm going to go with Tyler Lockett here. And after I draft Tyler Lockett, Dak Prescott, Devin Singletary, David Johnson, DK Metcalf, and David Johnson. So I talk about alliteration. 5 straight players with D as the first letter of their first name.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
Quick question, Will. Is your dad a mid-round quarterback guy, a late-round quarterback guy? Does he tend to double up at the position? Like, what's the strategy there?
Probably only going to go with one quarterback. I'd say somewhere in the middle. I don't know that he typically waits as long as you and I would usually do. I'd say somewhere in the middle rounds. It's hard to say here. 16 rounds here. I'd say, anytime now
8, 9,
to 10. If
okay.
someone's screaming value, but probably in that 8, 9, somewhere between maybe 9 and 12, something like that.
Okay, cool. So, looking at the board, we got DeAndre Swift, Cam Akers, Ronald Jones, Kareem Hunt, Jordan Howard at the running back position, at the wide receiver position. Devontae Parker, Keenan Allen, T.Y. Hilton, Stephon Diggs, Michael Gallup. There's no one in either of those positions that's really jumping out at me, which is a real shame because I drafted Ertz and passed up on like McLaurin and other people that I like. So that's the price you pay. So we do want to add another wide receiver or a running back here. And it's tough because I think of the options I've named, I think Ronald Jones is the one that I'm the highest on of that group. Just a little bit more conservative on the rookies and Swift and Akers. Kareem Hunt I like, but Ronald Jones is the one. So I like him a little bit more. Jordan Howard's a fine kind of volume play, but I think Ronald Jones has more upside. I also feel like I could wait and just get him in the 7th round and I could just take somebody else now. So I really wasn't thinking about going quarterback here. I was really just asking so I can formulate the rest of my day. But Russell Wilson and Kyler are sitting here. It's also a 3 wide receiver league. So maybe I just grab another wide receiver and help fill out the roster a little bit. But again, I don't love everyone here. Devontae Parker, I'm not a big fan. Keenan's solid. I don't know what his upside is this year, but he's solid. T.Y. Hilton, kind of worried about. Stephon Diggs isn't bad. Michael Gallup isn't bad, but also feels like a reach for Gallup. So, you know what? I'm going to add a little bit of boom to this team. I got some safety in Thielen. I think Kenny Galladay is going to be pretty safe as well. I'm going to add Stephon Diggs. Get that nice boom that he's going to provide every once in a while, and maybe him and Josh Allen establish a connection, and he finally becomes a consistent wide receiver. That would be a real plus. But in the meantime, he will be my nitro button. So we'll go ahead and draft him. Hopefully Ronald Jones goes right after me. Okay, that's why you play the game. So yeah. Ronald Jones went off the board right after, literally the next pick. DeAndre Swift, Tyler Higbee at the turn, and then T.Y. Hilton. Oh, man, that's fine. I am comfortable with Cam Akers as my 3rd running back. I say that a lot of
very
hesitation.
Confidently.
I know, right? Because it's not entirely true. But you know what? This is what happens when I draft a tight end early. I tend to just not like my team that much, and this is the reason why. So, we'll draft Cam Akers. Henderson is dealing with an injury now, so that could actually clear the pathway for him to become a bell cow of sorts. Malcolm Brown's still going to play some sort of role, but he could have a lot of upside. It's more about me just not trusting rookies, especially ones that are looking like an RBBC. But he's got a ton of opportunity ahead of him. He's in a great offense, and that's not a bad thing. So I'll go ahead and lock him in here, and we'll see. Maybe I'll look to grab another running back on the way here. Somebody can fall through the cracks. I don't know if they're going to, but we will see. So we'll lock him in. Keenan Allen goes off the board. There's Russell Wilson, AJ Green, Devontae Parker, and J.K. Dobbins. Well, Kyler Murray's still on the clock. I'm curious as to your thoughts. Can you avoid that temptation?
I don't know. It's going to be tough. Dobbins was the one I was kind of hoping would fall. I feel like he'd be a really nice RB4. So that is tough, and maybe if I really want to get him this year in this league, maybe have to reach in the 6th round. I don't know that I'd be able to do that, but now I know kind of that 7-8 turn is where I'd be looking at him if possible. And this is part of the reason I don't like taking Nick Chubb. The same reason you don't like taking Kenny Golladay, because you can get Marvin. Kareem Hunt is just screaming as an awesome RB4, and even despite having Chubb, I don't know that taking Hunt is out of the question. Even
I actually got a question for you, Will.
Yeah,
something I saw on Twitter. It's kind of like the definition of a handcuff. Is Kareem Hunt a handcuff?
I don't think so. That's what I'm saying.
Because he's got standalone value, right?
Standalone value, and I think it also creates 2 excellent trade chips, right? Because you maybe don't want to play both of them, but you have the option of trading one of them, right? Chubb was just good value there, and I think Hunt's even good value here. So I wouldn't mind having both of them on the roster and being open to deal either one for a player that I like. But as I mentioned, you still have the opportunity to potentially play them both, because I do think they both have, or Chubb obviously has value, but I do think Kareem Hunt has standalone value as well. Looking at tight end, we still have everyone but the top 4, so I'm not really looking at that position probably for a few rounds. And then
you did miss Tyler Higbee. Higbee's gone off the board.
Higbee has. Oh, okay, there you go. So
a big jump for him, I think.
Yeah,
he's off the board.
Waller, Ingram, and Henry. At wide receiver, Gallup, Marquise Hollywood-Brown, who I do like, Jarvis, Tyler Boyd. Got some safety on this team already, so Hollywood-Brown would be a nice boom shot for this team. So at this point, the consideration is Hollywood, potentially Kareem Hunt, or Kyler Murray. So I think that is the debate here. I think Kyler and Kareem Hunt are maybe more luxuries. Now, given the team behind me, probably a better chance that if they're going to go 2 players, they would go both of them, given just the team makeup. Whereas the wide receiver, I don't know that Hollywood gets taken there, so I may be able to get him in the next round. So, given it's a mock draft, and this is where you try things out, I think we're going to try out the quarterback here. We're going to see what happens if we go with the earlier quarterback and Kyler, and see if either of those 2 get back to me here in the next round. So we go Kyler. After him goes Jordan Howard and Darren Waller. So I get both of my options there. Kind of wonder if that team would have taken Murray or not. But we look here, and I think given just kind of the makeup of my team and the boom potential that comes with with Hollywood-Brown, I really think that fits well. The running back position is drying up quick, and going 3 straight and then now not taking one for quite a few rounds is a little scary as well. But there's still quite a few decent options that you're not thrilled to have, but are available there. And I just don't see Hollywood-Brown getting back, even if I tried to wait. So I'm going to go with a guy that I think just fits the team better here. Avoid that just kind of potential Chubb Hunt decision. So we're going to go Hollywood-Brown here, and really like the kind of upside and safety of the receiving core here with DJ Moore, Tyler Lockett, DJ Chark, and Marquise Hollywood-Brown. So locking them in. After Hollywood, Deebo Samuel, Michael Gallup, Tevin Coleman, Brandon Cooks, and Will Fuller. To you.
I don't even think I need to discuss this pick that much. I mean,
Yeah.
given my worrisome running back position, I can't pass up Kareem Hunt here. I'm surprised he's still here. I mean, I'm guessing because it's a standard league that he is being nerfed, which is understandable. But sometimes people do lean, and we've been talking about this recently. Sometimes people they let the scoring format impact their decision making a little bit too much. Like just because you're a pass catcher doesn't mean you're bad in standard. Case in point, Austin Eckler. Yeah, sure, he's not getting 1 point when he catches the pass, but he's still getting points for all those yards. So I'm going to lock him in here. Him as my running back 4 makes me feel a little bit more confident in the team and what I'm doing at the running back position. So I'm quite happy with that. We're going to go ahead and let's lock him in now. Again, no reason to discuss that any further. Marlon Mack, Sony Michel round out the 8th round. To start the 9th, we had Jarvis Landry and Matt Ryan. I'm kind of in that spot where I want to consider, what your dad normally does and draft a quarterback here. We got Josh Allen, Carson Wentz, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Matt Stafford all still here. But I'm looking, and there's only 2 people after me that don't have a quarterback. So I feel like I could just wait. I'm pretty comfortable with all them. So, maybe this is a little bit of a teaching lesson for Papa Monroe. This is just, we're going to test the waters, go with wait a little bit at the quarterback position, and we're still going to like this team when all is said and done. So at the wide receiver position, it's a shame because Marvin Jones is sitting there, but Tyler Boyd, Marvin Jones, Julian Edelman, Mike Evans, John Brown, Deontay Johnson, Christian Kirk. So plenty of good wide receiver options there. At the running back position, Lindsey, Breida, Kerryon Johnson, James White, Latavius Murray, some solid options there. But really there's one guy that's jumping out at me at the wide receiver position, and that's Tyler Boyd. I've taken, Thielen and Galladay, both I think have high upside, both with solid floors. I took the upside shot with Stephon Diggs. As far as just kind of balancing the team out, I want to take a safety pick, and I think that's going to be Tyler Boyd. They'll get plenty of targets. They're not going to be deep targets or anything, but they'll be enough to sustain a decent floor, I think, especially with that defense. I'm sure they'll be playing from behind plenty, letting Burrow test out that arm of his and get used to the NFL. So we're going to lock him in here. I think he makes a lot of sense for the team and the Stephon Diggs pick specifically. Also gives me my 4th wide receiver, which we need a little bit of added depth for considering we're starting 3 here. So we'll go ahead, lock him in here. Tom Brady does go off the board right after me, so one of those 2 teams has drafted their quarterback. Marvin Jones, Julian Edelman, Kerryon Johnson, James White. You're on the clock.
All right, so take a look at the tight end position. I know we said we haven't been looking there recently, but Evan Ingram, Hunter Henry, Jared Cook, Hayden Hurst. So quite a few decent options in that kind of mid-round, and then later on options that I know you and I both like. So look probably to the running back or wide receiver position. At running back, still have a couple guys that I think are interesting. Matt Breida has an chance to maybe be the starter there. We don't really know. And then Philip Lindsay is said to be the quote-unquote co-starter. We'll see how they actually use him in Melvin. But more and more I've been seeing him as a really valuable pick here because he's been super devalued since Melvin Gordon was signed to the team. But if he ends up splitting the workload and is a usable flex option, and you can get him here, in the 90s, pick 89 here for me, but, somewhere in the 9th or 10th round, I think he's got incredible value. So those are 2 interesting running back options that I'd be looking at. Wide receiver, we have top of the board here, Mike Williams, John Brown, Deontay Johnson, Kirk, Darius Slayton, Crowder, Emmanuel Sanders. So quite a few options still available at wide receiver. None of them stick out to me a ton. So probably look to go with one, if not both of those running backs here. Given that I've got Cook, Chubb, and Carson already, I'd really like to get both of them. Let's see if this team behind me has any type of... so he's already got Melvin. I don't know, and he's got Melvin, and he's already got Jordan Howard. So I don't know that he'd want to handcuff either of them. Who of those 2, if you were going to do some type of weird mid-round strategy would you handcuff with the other, Steve?
Oh, man. I don't. My answer is kind of surprising because of how I feel about the backfields. Like, I'm not really interested in the Denver backfield at this point, just because of what you said, like co-ownership. And like, it spells nasty. Where I'm interested in the Miami backfield because it seems like Jordan Howard will probably get first and second down work and touchdown work, and Breida's going to be a pass catching guy, and they'll be playing from behind. So I really like them. But if I'm going to draft two of them, I'm probably drafting Gordon and Lindsey because of the overall team and that it's just better. Their defense is good. There are going to be a lot of positive game scripts for both. So I would probably go Melvin and Lindsey, but it feels gross to say. With that in mind, this team hasn't drafted a wide receiver in a while. So I got a feeling they'll probably go wide receiver and maybe quarterback, and I think you'll be okay either way.
Yeah. I think they're all really good points. The one thing that stuck out to me was most people, I think, are assuming Melvin's the starter, and even if it's a co-starter situation, you got a 1A, 1B, but you know who 1A is and 1B is in Denver. Whereas in Miami, I don't think we know that yet. So I wouldn't be opposed to drafting Jordan Howard and drafting Matt Breida and seeing if maybe one of them is the kind of runaway starter. So given that's the case, I'm going to see if we'll take Breida, who I think overall I like a little bit better just because he has, on my team here, the chance to be the starter as my running back 4. And then, see if Phillip Lindsey's still there. Wouldn't mind going back-to-back to get a 5th running back with him. So given that all being said, we're going to go Matt Breida first here, and we'll see who goes off the board with this team. And Steve, with the prediction there, going quarterback and wide receiver, as you mentioned. And they went with the stack of Josh Allen and John Brown. How you feel about...
Not a stack you see too often.
What was that?
Not a stack you see too often.
No, and I was going to ask, I thought you were saying not a stack you want. I was going to ask how you feel about that stack.
Oh, God. It's tough. Like, Josh Allen, I was in on Josh Allen last year because he was going real late. But we didn't see really the rushing upside that he had the year before last year. And he just, he didn't provide you upside. Like, he finishes a quarterback 1. That's because he didn't have any bad games, but he didn't have any win game or week winning games either. It's like, I've been off on him. John Brown, I just have no interest in. With Diggs coming in, I mean, maybe he'll be fine as a flex kind of guy, but staring down Deontay Johnson and Kirk and Slayton, Crowder, I'd rather have all of them over John Brown. So again, I saw this coming. The picks make sense for the team. I'm just not a fan of either of them, especially, at the quarterback position too. You got Wentz, you got Breeze, Stafford. I'll take all of them over Josh Allen. Yeah. I know I'm out kind of the outlier. A lot of people like him this year, but I'm just not interested.
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you. I have him in as a backup in the Dynasty League at Mahomes, and I feel like he's a perfect backup there. Maybe he doesn't last 10 years like we hope Pat will, but he'd be a solid backup for the next 3 to 5 years. You don't really have to worry about the quarterback position there. In a redraft, you always a fine pick, midway through the draft tier, but not someone that I think I'm thrilled to take over, waiting on some of the guys still available that you would. Or, if I'm going to take a quarterback in this range, I'd rather take one, a round earlier pretty much with that turn and take Kyler Murray with the value there. So if I'm waiting on quarterback and passing on, a level Murray Russell guy that you'd see, I'm going to wait even further for Josh Allen. That being said, don't have to really talk about my pick here. I mentioned it. I want to get my 5th running back here to pair with Cook, Chubb, Carson, and then kind of the upside shot of Breida. A little bit of safety with Phillip Lindsey. That also has the chance, with injury to be the guy there, and I think still has value to be played. So we're going to lock in Phillip Lindsey as my 5th running back here, and we will see what goes off the board before you. We have CeeDee Lamb, Latavius Murray, Deontay Johnson, Tariq Cohen, and Zach Moss.
Yeah, so I'm in a lovely position where it's kind of like a cheat code. Everyone has a quarterback except for me. Mm-hmm. And that means I could just keep on waiting. This is where you need to know your league a little bit. Do you have a lot of people, Will, that draft 2 quarterbacks? Do you know?
I would say a few, but given that it's 10 teams even, I don't think too many will. I'd say just trying to look at who's drafted where, maybe 2 or 3.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
It gives me a little bit of a pause, but we'll run down the positions here. We got Matson, AP, Darrell Henderson, Duke Johnson, Tony Pollard, Keyshawn Vaughn. At the wide receiver position, we got Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, Darius Slayton, Jamison Crowder, Manny Sanders, Sterling Shepard. So plenty of decent options here. I'm not interested in Mike Williams. I wasn't interested really before because of the offense, but now with the injury, definitely not on him. So the 3 guys I named after him are all interesting. Kirk, Slayton, Crowder. I like all of them. Kirk, another year with Kyler. A lot of people assume it's going to be Hopkins, but sometimes quarterbacks take some time to gel with a new system and wide receivers, take some time to gel with a new system and a new quarterback. Weird off season. So they might be relying on Kirk a little bit more, especially earlier on. Slayton's just interesting. Another year, coming into his second year. He's not a bad shot, but I feel like he's kind of an upside slot like Diggs, and I just really don't want 2 of them. And Crowder's a nice floor guy, but I just drafted Boyd. So I think what I want here is Christian Kirk. I think he gives me some upside. I'm not sure his floor is going to be the greatest, but he's a nice kind of middle of the road guy that just gives me some added depth, fill in on some bye weeks and stuff. I'd be comfortable with that. So we're going to add Kirk here, see what happens after my pick. We had Mike Williams and Mecole Hardman round out the 10th. Darius Slayton, Anthony Miller go to start the 11th. I will go ahead. I will draft my quarterback. And I do that because if there's 2 or 3 people that draft 2, it's a potential for 2 to go off the board before my pick would come. And I'm not sure, realistically, whether your dad would actually do that. There's no problem waiting. I would, if this was me, I would definitely, you all know, I'd definitely be pushing this. Mm-hmm. You still got Cam Newton and Goff that I could get real late. I'm an Eagles fan today, so we're going to grab Carson Wentz. Get the stack with Zach Ertz, which, compared to Josh Allen, John Brown, I think is a pretty good stack. So we're going to go ahead and lock him in here, get the quarterback position out of the way. Manny Sanders, Henry Ruggs there at 11:05. Evan Ingram finally goes off the board. Alexander Mattison and Jerry Jeudy, you're on the clock.
All right. So given that I've got those 5 running backs, there may be one that I take a little later here, but not really looking at the position probably for a little while. We're going to probably load up on the wide receiver position with keeping an eye toward that tight end position here. Got right now 1 quarterback, 5 running backs, and 4 wide receivers. Hunter Henry still available is, does give a little bit of pause. I do like him there with the, having the potential rookie quarterback. But we'll see. It's a little murky. I know a lot of teams have tight ends, and the one behind me already does as well. Given that I think it's just 3 teams here don't have a tight end, including myself, I'll probably definitely wait 1 more round, maybe even another turn here. So we're going to stay with an eye on the wide receiver position. We have Crowder, Sterling Shepard, Preston Williams, Golden Tate, Brashad Perriman, Jalen Reagor, Deshaun Jackson. So there is 3 upside guys in kind of Preston Williams, Reagor, and Jackson that I like, and a couple of safer options in Crowder and Preston Williams. So I think the goal here would be to get 1 of each, kind of keeping some balance to the team, right? You've got Hollywood and DJ Chark, I guess, somewhat of an upside shot. If he is what we imagine, I think he's going to be pretty consistent, but, somewhat still of an upside shot. So pairing, Preston Williams, or Reagor, or Jackson with them would be nice. And then the safety of a Crowder or Golden Tate makes sense to go with Moore and Lockett. You know what you're getting out of them. So I think I'm going to go first with the upside shot that I like the best out of those, and I think that's going to be Jalen Reagor. I've been saying I think pound on the table for him is the rookie wide receiver 1 for redraft. I just think he is going to get, I think he's arguably, top 3 talent-wise. Situation-wise, I don't think anyone really has it better. And it seems like they're saying he has a pretty good rapport with Carson Wentz so far here in the early season, or in the early training camp. So it's tough. I almost feel like most of the time I want to wait just to see get him or Jackson, whichever second, because I do think both of them are going to have a great season. But I want to lock in the guy that I like the best out of them, and that's going to be Rager here, and we'll see what happens out of the turn here. So we lock in Rager. Team behind me goes with Keyshawn Vaughn and Justin Jefferson. So interesting that they're leaving, all of those wide receivers that I mentioned still on the board there. A couple of other upside shots later that I like, but I think going to have to look at one of these safer guys. And as much as I do like Golden Tate this year, I think Crowder is in for a really big year. Not going to be the sexy play, but he's going to be a fine, just bye-week replacement. You know what you're getting out of him. So I think the makeup of the team makes sense here to grab him. And still, maybe have a couple of those wide receivers that I mentioned available a little later as well. So we lock in Jamison Crowder next. After Crowder goes your Adrian Peterson, Rob Gronkowski, Darrell Henderson, Tony Pollard, and Duke Johnson. So a little bit of a running back run there.
Yeah, thanks for taking my Rieger pick. Here is my Eagles team.
Full-on Eagles team, including the two you have.
Freaking ruined it. But you know what? I'm happy because someone did fall to me that I'm interested in. But we'll run down all the positions real quick. Not that we're considering quarterback, but quarterbacks, we got Breeze, Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, Daniel Jones, and Ben Roethlisberger. None went off the board. At the running back position, Boston Scott, Chase Edmonds, Antonio Gibson, wink, wink, Justin Jackson, Damian Harris, Naeem Hines. At the wide receiver position, Sterling Shepard, Preston Williams, Golden Tate, Rashad Perryman. And at tight end, again, also not considering it, but we got Hunter Henry, Jared Cook, Hayden Hurst, Austin Hooper. Some solid options. I could have passed up Ertz and grabbed Hayden Hurst here and been plenty happy, but I will grab Antonio Gibson. I understand why his ADP is later because, again, we're talking standard league and he's looking like he might be a pass catcher, but he's getting a lot of first-team reps right now. He's looking pretty good. He's going to make a lot of plays, and, it's an upside shot, really. His floor is somewhere below like a normal Tariq Cohen floor for a standard league, which isn't ideal, but his upside is pretty high. He's that kind of gadget guy that could bust off a lot of big plays. And at this point, I want to swing for the fences a little bit. So we're going to lock him in there at running back. A very interesting play. Justin Jackson and Boston Scott go off the board right after me. I was considering Boston Scott, Philly. And Michael Pittman and Golden Tate go off the board, which is a real shame because I did want Tate, but what can you do? I will go to strike a balance and take a shot on a wide receiver here. We got Sterling Shepard, who I do like. We got Preston Williams, who I like. Rashad Perryman, who I don't like, but he might be a heavy volume play. Deshaun Jackson fits my team, but I think I'm going to pass up Sterling Shepard because I feel like I just drafted a Sterling Shepard-like player in Christian Kirk, where his floor is going to be decent. He'll get plenty of targets. He's got some decent upside, but it's probably not going to be sustained throughout the year. Who I really want here, I'm going to go ahead and draft Preston Williams. It feels safe. I got to kind of think on it. Do I really think Preston Williams has more upside than Sterling Shepard and Christian Kirk? And I think the answer is yes. It feels weird picking someone from the Dolphins offense over the Cardinals as far as upside goes, but Kirk ain't going to be the one for that team, right? It ain't going to happen. Plus, they got a good running game where Miami's going to be improved, but, they might not be a good running game. And, the wide receiver one's probably Parker, but I could also see it being a 1A, 1B. Could also see Preston Williams taking it over. I could also see them being in a lot of negative game scripts and needing to throw the ball. And we know Fitzmagic chucks the ball all over the place. So I think he's got some solid upside to him. And like I just said with Gibson, I'm taking some upside shots right now. So I'm going to go ahead and lock him in. See if D-Jax gets back to me. Matt Stafford goes off the board. There's one of our double QBs. Sterling Shepard, Chase Edmonds, Robbie Anderson, and Hunter Henry. You're on the clock.
Hunter Henry goes right before me here. Definitely was going to be in consideration for this or the next pick here. So if we're looking still at Hayden Hurst, probably the only tight end I'm debating here. would likely gamble. The team behind me wouldn't take 2, so that would be likely maybe the next option. Still got Deshaun Jackson on the board, given that I have Rager, not really someone I'm looking at. Harriman, Curtis Samuel, N'Keal Harry, Alan Lazard, Brandon Ayuk, Paris Campbell. So a few different options at the wide receiver position. A couple of interesting options at running back. Damian Harris, Naeem Hines, AJ Dillon, Carlos Hyde. Dillon and Harris, maybe it's just the training camp hype train getting to me a little bit, but both of them seem like solid, just kind of upside plays that you take here. You still have a few rounds left, 4 rounds, I think, here, plus the defensive kicker we would inevitably have, but they seem like good, options to grab here. If they don't pan out right away, fine. But I think Harris, even more, is a guy that sticks out to me as potentially a starter, really, if Sony's hurt. And if he gets some work, maybe he's trade bait. Otherwise, it's a good depth running back to have. So we're going to lock in Harris here first, see what happens on the turn. So there goes Breeze and the other, A.J. Dillon, aforementioned. So I think this is the time where I'm going to lock in my tight end position here. Hayden Hurst, I think is a good bet to finish in the top 10, maybe even top 5, depending on how things go, how injuries fall. So Hayden Hurst, I think, getting my starting tight end here in the, where are we looking, 14th round. Thrilled, would have been just as happy, maybe a little bit more to get Hunter Henry the pick before, but I am more than okay to wait another round here and grab Hayden Hurst. So we're locking in Hurst as the starting tight end. So then I just have 2 more picks left to go. Best player available, maybe reach on the kicker position if I wanted to get an advantage there, given that I guess technically we have 4 more rounds. But since we're not drafting kickers and defenses here, I'm looking at the depth pieces. After that, after Hayden Hurst, we have Naeem Hines, Jared Cook, Rashad Penny, Cam Newton. So good thing you didn't wait a little bit there. And N'Keal Harry, to you.
Yeah, so at the running back position, we got Carlos Hyde, Jamal Williams, Malcolm Brown, Josh Kelly, Darrington Evans, Benny Snell, DeAndre Washington, and more people like that. And at the wide receiver position, we still got Perryman. We still have Djax, Curtis Samuel, Alan Lazard, Brandon Ayuk. So we still got some solid options here. I kind of want to go Djax to continue with my Eagles theme, but I don't think I'm going to. I do think I'm going to take an upside shot on Perryman. I'm really not a believer. I'm just not. But he's the only one, looking at my team, he's the only one of my wide receiver core that I'm looking at, and I say, you know what? If his upside doesn't materialize, I'm probably going to cut him. Like Preston Williams, I think if his upside doesn't materialize, I think he'll score enough that you'll keep him around and use him for bye weeks or in case of injury or something. Or Rashad Perriman, he might just be cut because he'll be useless because he's the Jets and he's had that career. He's had 3 good weeks in his career. Whatever. And we're late enough to where if we cut him, it's no big deal. So we'll go ahead and add him here. We'll see what's get back to me. I'm really not sure what I'm going to do on the next pick here. But Aaron Rodgers goes off the board. Mike Gesicki, Josh Kelly, and then Jamal Williams. I would like to add another running back. And the one that really screams off to me is Bryce Love. But I also don't want both of them. I mean, it could work out. If Bryce Love takes a starting job and then Antonio Gibson ends up as the pass catcher plus gets some gadget work here and there, it could work out, but I'm not taking a bet on that offense. It's not going to be good enough to sustain. So we're going to go back to the wide receiver core. We got Djax, Curtis Samuel, Alan Lazard, Brandon Ayuk, Sammy Watkins, Paris Campbell. I think Djax, Eagles stuff aside, is pretty interesting here. A nice kind of deep play. Alan Lazard, probably safe, but I don't know if I really want any safety right now. So, yeah, I guess I am going to go ahead and just draft Djax.
They said he's been looking great in camp, and him and his great connection with Carson.
Yeah, a lot of people wrote him off because he got hurt and he's a little bit older, but, as long as he's still fast, he's going to be fine. So, I'll draft him. I would be okay in situations starting Wentz, Ertz, and Djax if I needed to. I'm okay with that. It's an offense I think that could sustain something like that. It's good to depend on the matchup a little bit, but I'm okay doing that, especially if I need a little bit of upside, if I'm like projected to lose a matchup or something. So we'll add Djax to this team. There goes Bryce Love right after. Anthony McFarland, Austin Hooper, Alshon, and Steve Sims.
All right, so back to me here for my virtual last two picks here, almost a back-to-back. Looking at Bryce Love was probably really the only running back that was interesting to me there. Carlos Hyde, Malcolm Brown, Darrington Evans, a lot of guys that maybe get some work, but maybe take a shot on DeAndre Washington. But there's just not a ton there. Jerick McKinnon is another guy that I know you and I both like. I wonder, his value. I know we both like him in a 12-team league, right? His value should probably still be there if we're taking him at the end of rounds there, as we should hear. So if we go running back, he's probably going to be the one that we'll take here at the end of the draft. Looking at wide receiver, John Allen Lazard, Brandon Ayuk, Paris Campbell. Out of them, they're the only ones that really stick out to me as guys that I'd be interested in. So Lazard seems like the logical option. I've been pounding the table for him as well all year, and he seems to be the wide receiver too there. And, I know Adams was hurt recently, but I don't think there's anything serious. And as far as I've seen, he's back on practicing. So no really chance that he's the number one, but really good chance that he's the number two for Rodgers. So I'm going to lock in Allen Lazard here at the 15th round. After him goes Jack Doyle and Hunter Renfrow. And just to strike some balance here, I think we're going to go with the running back to get a sixth on the team seventh on the team, given that I've got Damian Harris with that pick on the last turn there. So we'll go ahead and take Jerick McKinnon. I know you and I have been talking about him more than enough, but for anyone that's new, we think he's a really good upside shot here at the end of a draft. He costs you pretty much nothing, right? You likely can pick him up the waiver wire, but why waste money or your fab at the beginning of the beginning of the year when you could just put him on your team, see if he pops. Supposedly looking good in the in the preseason here, and it's really just Coleman and Mostert ahead of him. So seems like a good upside option, and if doesn't pan out or if everybody gets injured again, you can cut him because he didn't cost you too much here in the draft. So we'll lock in Jerick McKinnon as the last pick here. After McKinnon goes Goddard, Carlos Hyde, Royce Freeman, John Ross, Chris Thompson, and the pick is to you.
Chris Thompson was going to be my pick. Oh, man. Now I actually got to look at the rosters. I really thought he was going to get to me. I wanted to add a running back because it's been a while since I added one, and I thought he made a lot of sense. I'm just not a fan of anything else on the board. Like, not as far as, like, people that are going to jump out. Like, Gio's interesting, but not with my last round pick. Like, he doesn't have that kind of upside for me. That's a shame. DeAndre Washington, kind of interesting. At the wide receivers, we'll just take a quick peek. Curtis Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Sammy Watkins, Paris Campbell. I'll draft Sammy Watkins.
There it is, the Lizard King himself.
Yeah, I mean, like 16th round, like you just said. If he's the Sammy Watkins we've been seeing, then whatever. But if he's the wide receiver too for Pat Mahomes, this could be a wonderful pick. So I'll add him here. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'll do it. So we'll lock him in. That is going to finish up the draft. We'll go ahead and run through our teams here. So again, I was drafting out of the 3 spot. At quarterback, I got Carson Wentz. At running back, I got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Kenyon Drake, Cam Akers, Kareem Hunt, and Antonio Gibson. At wide receiver, Kenny Golladay, Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, Tyler Boyd, Christian Kirk, Preston Williams, Brashad Perriman, Djax, Sammy Watkins, and then at tight end, I got Zach Ertz.
All right. How you feeling?
I'm not that big of a fan, mostly because of the running back group. Like, It's just not. I think a 5, which I really want to add one. So, like, it comes down to the tight end position. If I would have swapped out Zach Ertz and added Jonathan Taylor, Raheem Mostert, Bell, Connor, Montgomery, anyone like that in that spot. And then instead of drafting Sammy Watkins, freaking Jonnu Smith was there. I could have had Jonnu. I could have grabbed Hayden Hurst instead of Brashad Perryman. You know, there's just so many other options. Gesicki I could have drafted. You know, I could have waited, and then I'd feel a lot more comfortable with this team. But right now, I mean, it's fine. I only have to start 2. You know, so my starting lineup could be Wentz, Clyde, Drake, Galladay, Thielen, Diggs, and then my 2 flexes like Cam Akers, Hunt, Boyd, Kirk. You know, 2 of those depending on matchup plays, and then Ertz. Like, that's fine. I would have liked to come out with a little bit more running back depth. What do you think about your team?
Yeah, overall, I think I like it. We'll run it down real quick. We've got Kyler at quarterback, Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, Chris Carson, Matt Breida, Lindsey, Damian Harris, and Jerick McKinnon at running back. We've got DJ Moore, Tyler Lockett, DJ Chark, Marquise Brown, Jamison Crowder, Jalen Reagor, Alan Lazard at wide receiver, and Hayden Hurst at tight end. I mean, I don't feel like there's too many picks that would have changed around that. It's probably the starting lineup. You know, maybe if you want a safer option, you could put in Breida for Hollywood Brown. But overall, I think I've got a lot of depth, a lot of, maybe not the best receiving core, right? There's not the names that really stick out, but hopefully by the end of the year, DJ Moore and DJ Chark are 2 names that people are clamoring about. So a lot of upside there. Love Hayden Hurst, the late round. Kyler, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just because he's only going into 2nd year, but I just don't get that, boost feeling that I feel like you get when you get one of those top 2 guys, or even the rest of that tier, like Russell, Dak, and Watson. He just doesn't feel like that, even though he played great last year, and I fully believe that he's going to do it again this year. I don't know. I'm high on him. It's just I feel like maybe it's just the name value isn't there just yet.
His ADP is probably too high.
Yeah,
it's like it's baking in a jump that he hasn't made. Like it's like Baker last year. Like Baker was going in the same area and it didn't work out. Like look at this draft. He's not even drafted.
Yeah,
so it's the same kind of risk.
There's definitely the risk there, but I mean, he did have a great season, and he had over 500 yards on the ground. You got to imagine that's probably going to go up. He's a good runner. 3,700 yards. He didn't have that crazy touchdown to interception ratio that Baker had. I think that's something that's pretty unsustainable, right? He only had 20 passing touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Do you imagine that's something that's better with time? But tough to increase when I think Baker had the record for most passing touchdowns for a rookie. I do think there's a really good chance he is top 5. But there is a little uncertainty there, as we mentioned, that who knows what he's actually going to be able to do, how much can he increase, and really how good the offense is. There's some uncertainty, but overall, I really like the team. I wouldn't be mad coming out of it like this. We'll see how the draft board shakes out, what kind of Eagles get a bump up, and what kind of Cowboys get a bump down because of the just the fandom in the league. There's a couple. I think there's a Giants fan, maybe a couple of other fandoms, but for the most part, in the Eagles league. So you're definitely going to see the, just the tilts one way or the other.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, that's going to wrap up today's draft. Give us a follow on Twitter @TrustYourBoard. Till next time, folks. Trust your board.